very often it becomes easy to say, I'll do it later, or I'll do it tomorrow. My contact lenses. I'll do it tomorrow. Stop taking tomorrow for granted. Tomorrow is not a given. The first thing you can do for yourselves is to take a promise you have made, which you have been putting off, and keep. Clean the pool, replace the lights, stop smoking. My dad was a man of conviction. He overcame many obstacles in his life. I never heard him complain about one of them. As many of you know, he suffered a brain hemorrhage when he was 41 years old. He had to learn how to walk again. And he was left with a slowly deteriorating left side. But any time we asked him to play cricket or rugby or soccer in the back garden, he would drop everything, even though he was unbalanced, and come play with us. These are some of the fondest memories I have of my dad. My dad endured months of chemotherapy, which meant he was extremely weak, and moving from the kitchen to the TV room was the equivalent of a half marathon for him. Despite this, he would insist on locking the house or going outside to turn the pool pump off. He also insisted on walking all his guests to the door, even though he was in a wheelchair. So, the second thing I ask of everyone today is to stop complaining. Instead of complaining about something you have to do it with energy and excitement. Because somewhere, someone is in a much worse situation than you, whether physically, financially, or otherwise, and can only dream of doing what you do and take it for granted. My dad was our biggest supporter and was always willing to help us with anything. I'll never forget the countless hours he spent sitting at the dinner table helping us with Kimon on Christmas morning, even though he was just as confused as we were. In grade 8, I was very unhappy about being selected for the B team cricket. One mentioned this to my dad, and in 3 months' time, he single-handedly built Wanderers Cricket Stadium in the back garden for us to practice in. Every time we would use the net, he'd be sitting right there next to us, cigarettes in one hand, hosepipe in the other, cheering us on. My dad was the life of the party. He had a great sense of humor, which I'll miss very much. He was also a great storyteller. Listening to him reminisce about his days in school and the army led to many great laughs and precious memories that I'll cherish forever. Although he's gone, a piece of my dad remains with us all. In our minds and the memories we all have made of him and with him. I love you, Dad. I am who I am because of my dad. For the last few days, I've been thinking about what I would say when I eventually sat down to write this eulogy for my dad. The same question is stayed in my head. Are there any words good enough to describe the man and life that my father lived? In these moments of grief, I am at a loss for words. However, I know once the pain eases and time goes by, it'll become easier to remember the words, and the stories will be abundant. I know he would have been honoured by all the love his family and friends have shown today by being here to celebrate the life he lived. I only got to spend 22 years with him, but his influence in those years is beyond explanation. He was and will continue to be the best dad I could have ever asked for, and his impact on my life will be everlasting. Please refer to the poem in this morning service to Dash. I believe part of my father's Dash included his family. He loved us. You could see it in his words, his face, and his actions. He loved our mother and was always loyal with our best interests at heart. He was our number one supporter. He didn't miss an event without fail, and he was always proud of our success and always showed it. He parented out of love. He gave us a strong foundation and always pushed us to improve and grow as young men, with a genuine desire to see us succeed. Pride. Not only was he proud of his achievements, but those of others around him. He was always happy to congratulate and cheer other successes. Humility. His successes were always quietly acknowledged or sharing them with others. He was meticulous. Everything in his life had order with a set way of doing things. He understood hard work. He understood the value of hard work and was never afraid to get his hands dirty in order to achieve the goals he had set out for himself. He was generous. With his home, money, time, and energy, and even willing to go without things for himself to the benefit of others. But not his cigarettes. Humor. He had a quick wit about him and was always able to make those around him laugh and have a good time. He loved life. He cherished all the moments of life, whether they're big or small, especially when they involved my brothers and I. He was trustworthy. He had a deep emphasis on being a man of his word. He was compassionate. He had a deep care and love for others and loved having everyone together, especially his family. I was extremely fortunate to have him as my father. His undying support, love, and loyalty was something I never had to question. Whether it was school, on the sports field, or even in everyday life, he made his love and pride for me known. He demanded a work ethic, commitment, and love for whatever we undertook, but at the same time allowed for me to have my own freedom and space to grow into my own person. I aspire to be as great a man as he was. I am who I am because of my dad. I'm going to read a short passage from our brother in New Zealand who unfortunately couldn't come to South Africa to see our dad. I've been trying to think and write something all day about dad. It has been a very emotional time remembering all the memories of dad. He was an amazing man and a great father. He cared so much for the people, for all the people around him. He will always be in my heart and I'll never forget him. I hope everyone will remember the man he was, just how creative he was, and Mr. Fix-It, but most of all, just how loving he was. Thank you for all the time we had together. Rest in peace, Hans Hoestbach, Rihanna.
As ek so kyk na hierdie blaadjie, na al die foto's, dan weet ek Hans het gelewe. Hy het 'n passie gehad. Kevin and Blaine, thank you. Well done. You are superstars. Eerstens moet ons Hemelse Vader loof en prys vir sy groot genade. Hy het hierdie moeilike pad saam met Hans en sy gesin gestap. Hy het ook vir Hans tyd gegee om te kan afskeid neem. Dis net groot genade. Hoe beskryf ons vir Hans? Wel 'n besige bytjie, 'n boetie, 'n ingenieur, seilpartner, drinking partner, poolpartner, Verstappen fanatic, global, ag, daar's nog honderde wat ek kan noem. Kroukie champ, Ekkie. Dankie dat jy vir Hans goed was en hom aanvaar het net soos hy is. Dankie dat jy Hans en sy seun Rian, wat in Nieu-Seeland woon, by mekaar gebring het, om deel van ons lewens te kan wees. Jy's 'n baie spesiale mens. Rian daar in Nieu-Seeland, ons harte gaan uit na jou. Dink baie spesiaal aan jou en hoop om jou gou weer te sien. Ekkie, wees verseker dat ons die pad saam met julle sal stap. Ons is hier vir jou. Nou 'n bietjie stoutigheidjies. Hans het op 'n stadium elke aand by ons moet kuier toe hy nog single was. Ons het pool gespeel saam met Gerrit van die kerk en gekuier tot laat in die aand. Eendag so teen 10:30, 11 uur toe besluit ons drietjies wat nou lekker pool speel. Ons moet nou Joel toe gaan. Dolly hoor die storie en sy kom met die trappe afgehardloop na die poolkamer toe en sê, Jakkie, jy gaan nêrens heen. Dit was toe die einde van ons Joel gewees. Ek onthou nog toe hy Ekkie aan ons voorgestel het in Hermanus. Ekkie het sy voete onder hom uitgeslaan en hy het absoluut vir haar gekyk en op sy hande gedra. Ons mans is nogal goed daarmee om ons beste voetjie voor te sit. Enigste probleem is net jammer, ons ware klere kom maar toch later uit die weer. Om met een van die Verhage boeties te trou, het sy eie uitdagings. 'n Medalje vir jou, Ekkie. Hans was besonder lief vir Ekkie en sy seuns. Hy was so trots op julle, met goeie rede. Poppie, ek sien jy's ook hierso. Poppie? Ons moet net vir jou dankie sê, jy het 35 jaar 'n paadjie saam met Hans geloop. En ons wil net vir jou sê baie dankie vir wat jy vir Hans beteken. En jy is nou nog daar, so beteken dit maar nou vir die res daar. Dankie, Poppie. Elkeen wat vandag hier is, vir Hans goed geken en sy eie pad met Hans gestap. Ons Verhage familie van 9 kinders is 'n regte familie en ook mekaar se pelle. Hans, jy het 'n verskil in elkeen van ons se lewens gemaak. Hans, ons groet jou. Wees verseker ons gaan jou mis. Vrede vir jou. Sien allemaal die papiertjies. Goeiemôre aan almal. My naam is Tobias. Ek kies 'n swaar. Maar vir Hans was ek sy swaar. Ek het ergens gelees dat die woord dankie so 'n bitter klein woordjie is. Maar tog die betekenis so ongelooflik groot. Dus juist hier waar Alex, Q en Bly en Adriaan baie dankie wil sê aan hulle familie en vriende vir die ondersteuning, die liefde tydens Hans se siekte en afsterwe. God het vir Alex, Q en Bly en Adriaan engele op aarde gestuur. Boeties en sissies aan albei kante van die Verhages en die Mackenzies, wat vir hulle as 'n rots, 'n bron van krag en stabiliteit was en nog steeds is. Graag wil hulle ook baie dankie sê aan almal vir die troostwoorde, telefoonoproepe, kos en besoeke wat vir hulle baie beteken het. Hulle is dankbaar vir al die bystand en wil graag vir die volgende persone baie dankie sê. Die dokters en die verpleegstes wat vir ons behandel en verpleeg het. Dr. Neding, hulle algemene praktisyn
wat al die jare mediese behandeling verskaf het, met die geduld en grappies gemaak het. Ek onthou waar hy vir een chemotherapie gegaan het en toe sê die dokter vir hom, jy is volgende week in donderdag hierso. Toe sê hy, nee, jy is dokter, ek kan dit nie maak nie, ek speel golf. Sun Garden Hospice se personeel, Dr. Lavelle, Hermine en Susan. Ja, dit is 'n ander storie, wat is die skoondogters, Jessica en Emma, wat die seuns bygestaan het en ingetree het om kos te maak en sorgvuldig alles bottelgoed gewas het. Dominee Veldsmann, baie dankie vir die uitsonderlike boodskap. Die musikante, Nisa, Philip, Johan, Jonathan, Chris Norwood van Norwood Productions vir die opstel van die regstreekse stroom, en uit harte uit wil die familie asseblief uitnooi vir verversings en koffie. Baie dankie.
Baie dankie aan elkeen van julle. The present worship team is just going to close, after which I am going to do a benediction.
You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, we pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you. Great are you, Lord. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, we pour out our praise.
Seën van die Here. Mag die genade van die liefdevolle Herder, van die gasheer God, en die troos van die Heilige Gees, saam met die Verhage gesin, die familie, en elkeen wat naby aan Hans was, wees. Amen. Is welkom om saam met die Verhage familie op koppie thee te geniet.
I think they're done. Dude, switch the other one off and then I'll put the slideshow on.